Hi everyone, and welcome to the second practice in the Gratitude with Grace yoga series. In case you missed last week, this is just a series of yoga practices that I will be posting each Sunday in order to raise money for the Buckeye-thon. And in case you aren't familiar with the Buckeye-thon, it's a 24-hour dance marathon that takes place here at Ohio State. It's just to raise money for families that are experiencing pediatric cancer. And also this practice series will be 100% donation based. So if you could give $2, if you could give $20, I know anything helps. So thank you for your time, enjoying my practice, hopefully, and thank you for your gracious donations. And let's get started. Meet you on the mat. We're going to begin our practice today in Baddha Konasana, which is basically just butterfly pose. In case you did gymnastics when you were younger like I did, that was what we referred to it as. But basically you're just going to be sitting on your butt with the bottoms of your feet touching one another. Doesn't matter how far away your feet are, how close your feet are to your body. Just find a place that feels good here to where you can feel a nice stretch and opening up through the hip joints. You also want to make sure that you're sitting tall through the spine. As always, we don't want to be doing the slouched thing. We want to stay elongated and strong through the spine. Before we get started with our movement practice, I'd like to just take a few moments for centering and for grounding. So you can either rest your hands on your knees, maybe you bring your hands to your heart center, whatever feels right, and begin to close your eyes. Bring your focus inward as you simply notice your breathing pattern. Don't worry about it too much. We don't want to change anything here. We're simply just taking a few moments to notice it. What does it feel like in your body today? Is your breath shallow? Is it deep? Just taking a little mental note of the things that you feel here. And because this yoga series is all about gratitude, I'd like to just take a few moments to notice a few things that you should show gratitude for today. And I even challenge you to find the seemingly small things to show gratitude for. So instead of the big things of, I'm thankful for my dogs, maybe you say you're thankful for the fall weather today, or the crisp apple you ate during lunchtime. I want you to find 3 things to think of, noticing these seemingly small things and feeling how it feels to have gratitude for these small parts of your day. Taking a few more breaths to let these objects of appreciation really sink into your soul. If you need more time to think about it, you're welcome to pause the video and return to it whenever you're ready. If you are ready, you're welcome to begin to flutter your eyes open, bringing your awareness back into the room. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Audible exhale, hands through heart center. One more just like that. Inhale. Audible exhale. Letting all that yucky stress go from the weekend. Inhale one more time. On your exhale this time, you'll begin to gently fold forward. We don't want to go very far here, and we're even going to keep this elongating through the spine. So we don't want to be crouched through our posture. We want to just come as far as it takes to feel a bit of a deeper stretch through the hips. and a sense of grounding. A few more breaths here. Maybe you feel your sit bones press into the mat. Inhale back up to our Baddha Konasana. You can begin to cross your shins over one another to come into Sukhasana, or easy seated position. And we'll just be rolling over our shins as we transition into table. Here in table, as always, you want to try to keep your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hip sockets. We're going to take a few rounds of cat-cow together. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze and the chest for cow. Exhale, draw the navel in, curving through the spine like a rainbow for cat. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest for cow. Exhale, outward curve of the spine for cat. One more time on each. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest. Exhale, navel draws in, spine curves out. Inhale back, we'll meet at a neutral spine. Begin to tuck the toes, and we'll send the hips up and back to a downward facing dog. As this may be your first downward facing dog of the day, you're welcome to keep a generous bend in the knees. Maybe you even walk your dog by pressing one heel down to the mat at a time. Remember to breathe. You can even find some stillness here if that is what feels good in your body today. Just warming up the muscles in the back of the legs. A few more breaths here. You can bend through the knees. And slowly, slowly, slowly walk your feet to meet your hands in a forward fold at the top of your mat. Take a few moments to ragdoll here. You can grab opposite hands to opposite elbows and really let yourself hang. You almost have to actively release through the muscles in the neck to really make sure that you let go here. Really let your head hang. You can even sway a bit from side to side. Coming back into our regular forward fold. Inhaling together, you can bring your hands to your shins as we lengthen up halfway. Exhale, lower back down, forward fold. Remembering that you can keep a bend in the knees here. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, bringing the hands down through heart center, and we meet into Tadasana, or mountain pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead once more. Exhale, fold forward, hinging at the hips, and bending through the knees when you can no longer fold. Inhale, lift halfway, hands to shins, elongate through the spine like you're being pulled through the crown of your head. Exhale, forward fold, plant the palms on the mat. Bring your knees down as we come back into our tabletop position. From table, you'll begin to move your left lower leg out to the side. So just pivoting on that left knee, moving this lower part of the left leg towards the side. You'll begin to transition your right leg out with what would be behind you, and you'll begin to open up to the side of your mat. The bottom of the foot can be planted on the floor with a bit of a bend in the ankle here. Using your abs, come up into this T position as we prep for our gate pose. To get into gate, you're going to inhale and slowly reach your right arm to slide down your right leg. The left arm can reach up and overhead towards the right side. Feeling a beautiful opening through the chest, a nice opening through the left side body. On an exhale, begin to windmill your arms down to the ground. The left hand comes to the ground, the right arm reaches up in a diagonal, coming up through the right leg, all the way up through the right fingertips. You can keep your foot planted on the floor for support here. This is a supported side plank. Inhale back up, using those abs to lift you and slide you over into our gate. The right arm reaches down, the right leg, doesn't matter how far you can go. Left arm reaches up and over to the right. Maybe you lift the corners of your mouth a bit into a little smile. Exhale, left hand comes down to the mat. Right arm reaches up and over in this diagonal line of energy from the ground up through the right toes, coming all the way up through the right side body and out through the right fingertips. One more time on each, using the abs to come up. Inhaling for gate. Right arm reaches, left arm reaches. Feeling this opening. Exhale, windmill the arms down. Left hand to the ground, right arm into the diagonal. Really try to open your chest up, spiraling open towards the ceiling. Exhale, the right hand can come down onto the ground. You might want to move that left hand further towards the left side of your mat as we come back into our table. And depending where you are on your mat, we're just going to come into a modified plank. So I'm going to walk my knees a little bit further back. If you're in plank, you may even want to just walk your hands a little bit further. Just depends on your orientation on your mat, just to keep you centered. So like I said, I'm just walking my knees back a little bit, lifting my feet off the floor, inhaling here in my modified plank. Exhale to lower all the way down slowly. My chest meets the floor. Prepping for Sphinx, you'll bring your forearms down onto the ground in front of you. Inhale, gripping through the palms, the fingers, and the forearms to lift your chest. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, you'll lift your chest once more, coming back into Sphinx, feeling as if you can pull your chest towards the front edge of your mat. Exhale to lower all the way down. The hands can come back to plant right beside the chest here. Tuck the toes. Press up slowly back into our tabletop position and send the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Bend through the knees. You can step or hop your feet to meet your hands in a forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, bringing the hands through heart center and eventually coming down to the sides for Tadasana. Again, inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, you know what to do. Begin to fold forward, bending through the knees if necessary. Inhale, hands to shins, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, plant the palms on the floor, bringing the knees down onto the mat as we come back into our table. The sequence with the gate pose to the supported plank, or supported side plank rather, is what we're going to be doing, but on the opposite side this time. So pivoting on the right knee, you can begin to bring the lower right leg out to the side. Begin to transition that left leg out behind you, and that should open you up towards the side as your left toes will be pointing away from your body. You may have to recenter yourself on your mat here like I am. Inhale to rise. The foot can be planted on the floor. Here in this T-like position, you'll begin to inhale, slide your left hand down your left leg, reaching the right arm up and over to the left side for our gate. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down, the right palm meets the mat. The left arm reaches up in a diagonal over to the right. Remember to keep that left foot planted on the floor. Inhale, using your abs to lift you slowly. Sliding that left arm down the left leg. Right arm up and over towards the left side. Again, you really want to make sure you're staying open through your right side body. Open through the chest. Exhale, right palm to the floor, left arm, and this beautiful diagonal line of energy from the ground up through the left foot, all the way up through the left fingertips. Inhale one more time for each. Left hand slides down the left leg, right arm reaches up and over. Doesn't matter how far you can get here. All that matters is that you're staying open through the chest and the side. Exhale, the right hand comes down to the ground. The left arm sweeps up to align by the left ear. Transitioning back into our table, you can begin to bring both your knees back down to the mat as well as both hands. And coming back into our modified plank, you can either walk your knees back or walk your hands forward, whatever keeps you centered in the middle of your mat. Inhaling here in our modified plank. Exhale, lower down with the forearms right beside the torso, slowly until the chest meets the floor. Prepping for Sphinx pose, you'll bring your forearms out in front of you on the floor. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your gaze, pulling your chest forward, almost like you're coming towards through the hands. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, prepping for Sphinx again and letting yourself lift, gripping through the fingertips and the forearms to help pull you forward. Exhale, lower down. And the hands can plant back on the mat right beside the chest. Tuck the toes. Press yourself up gently into a tabletop position. Send the hips up and back for downward facing dog once again. A few breaths here. Take this time to bring yourself back to those 3 seemingly small things that you showed gratitude for at the beginning of your practice. Bend to the knees, step or hop the feet to meet the hands as we meet in a forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, the hands come through heart center. And instead of coming into Tadasana this time, you'll begin to shift your weight into your left foot and slowly sweep that right foot far back on your mat, transitioning it to become parallel to the back edge of your mat, bending through the left knee, and we meet in Virabhadrasana 2 or Warrior 2. Soft gaze over the left fingertips, and make sure that you're not collapsing through that front knee. You want to stay strong, either keeping the knee right over the left ankle or slightly behind it. As you inhale, you'll begin to straighten through your left knee, reach that left arm forward. Exhale, bring the left hand to either rest on the shin, the floor. You can even have a block here or a textbook for support, space for Trikonasana, triangle pose. The right arm reaches up towards the ceiling, palm is open with the fingertips out. On an exhale, you'll begin to cartwheel your hands down, moving any props out of the way. Bring the right knee down onto the ground, and we'll transition our weight back into a runner stretch. So you're coming back onto the left heel. Walk your hands back towards your right knee. Feeling a nice stretch through the left calf, the left hamstring. Inhale, slowly walking yourself back. The left knee comes through, coming back into our tabletop position again. This time you'll bring your bottom right leg out to the right side, coming back into our supported side plank. You'll walk that left leg out behind you, allowing the foot to plant on the floor with the toes pointing away from the body. And you'll bring your left arm up and overhead. So we're not in the same diagonal that we were at the beginning of the practice, but creating a shape that's similar to our triangle pose. Feeling open through the chest, really pushing through the right hand here to keep yourself lifted like you're reaching for the ceiling. On an exhale, you'll begin to bring your left hand down to the ground. Both knees come back into our table. You can walk your knees back, maybe you walk your hands a little bit forward, coming back into our supported plank. Inhale here, exhale, lower down all the way slowly. Tops of the feet are on the floor. On your inhale, you'll lift your chest using the back muscles into baby cobra. Exhale, lower down. We're gonna do one more just like that. Inhale, lift the chest without really pressing through the hands, using the back muscles. Exhale, lower down. You can tuck the toes, gently press up into your table position. Send the hips up and back once more for downward facing dog. You can walk the feet to meet the hands. Coming into our forward fold once again. Inhale, lift halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, the palms come through heart center. This time, transition your weight into your right foot as you begin to step your left foot far back on your mat. The back foot comes parallel to the back edge of the mat. The right knee can bend, arms open in a T to the side for Virabhadrasana 2 or Warrior 2. Just like we did on the last side, make sure that you're staying strong through the front knee, not collapsing through it, being aware of where it is in space. We don't want it past that right ankle. On an inhale, you can begin to straighten your right knee, send the right palm towards the front of the room, and exhale, you can grab your right hand down to your right shin. You can bring it onto a block or bring it onto the floor. So we come into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Left hand reaches straight up to the ceiling. Using the hand that's either on the shin or the ground, using it to rotate your chest open to the side, creating space as we have been throughout this entire practice. Exhale, begin to cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot, moving any blocks or textbooks out of the way. Begin to bring your left knee down onto the ground. Exhale, walk your hands back, coming into a runner's stretch. Your weight transitions into the right heel. Act as if you can pull that right leg into that right hip socket. So we're not sticking our booty out to the side. We're keeping it all in a square. Feeling a stretch through the muscles in the back of the leg. Inhale, begin to walk your hands forward, sending the right knee back into this tabletop position. For our final supported side plank, you'll begin to pivot on the left knee, bringing that left the lower left leg out to the left side. You can reach your right leg out behind you until the foot plants on the floor. Inhale, open up to the side as you reach your right arm towards the ceiling. Feeling a similar feeling to where we were in Trikonasana. The arm reaching up towards the ceiling and the chest, feeling open. I equate the openness of the chest to a feeling of vulnerability, which isn't always a bad thing, contrary to what our society wants us to think, but I think to fully feel gratitude, we have to feel a little vulnerable sometimes. Exhale, bring the right hand back onto the mat, walking the knees back into our table. You can walk the knees back as we come into our supported plank, or modified plank rather. Inhaling, exhaling, lowering all the way down. The chest comes to the mat. Legs come down, the tops of the feet rest on the mat. Inhale for baby cobra without really pressing into the hands, just using the muscles of our back to lift us. Exhale, lower down. We're gonna do one more just like that. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, lower down. Tuck the toes. Slowly press yourself up, back into tabletop. Exhale, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. From our downward facing dog, you'll begin to bring your right knee to rest on the mat behind your right wrist. And if you want, you can begin to walk your left leg further back behind you. This can be quite an intense stretch for some. This is a prep for pigeon pose. And if it would be good for you, you can prop a block or blanket underneath the hip for support here. And you don't have to let your hip drop as much as you don't want it to go. Just find what feels good and allow you to practice safely in your body today. So you can stay on your fingertips here for pigeon, or you can begin to walk your forearms down onto the ground. You could even rest your forehead down onto the mat or onto the block. Remember to breathe. Pigeon pose is a very deep hip opener, but it's also a beautiful time to stay and reflect on the practice. Reflecting on those 3 things you chose to show gratitude for before we even began our movement. Inhale, slowly begin to transition your weight back into your hands, walking yourself back up, moving any props out from underneath the hip, and we'll press back up to meet in downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, you'll bring your left knee this time onto the mat right behind that left wrist. You can walk your right leg back further behind you, propping up that left hip with any blankets or pillows or textbooks, whatever you have near you. You can stay on the hands for support or come deeper into the pigeon, into a restful-like posture, onto the forearms, maybe even onto the head. Remember to breathe. feel the deep stretching, especially through that left hip. Inhale, begin to walk yourself up slowly if you were lowered. Moving our props out of the way. This time we're not going back into downward facing dog. You'll just shift your weight onto your left hip and we'll slide around to come into a boat pose. You can take whatever variation of boat pose would feel best for you today. The traditional boat pose would be with the feet out and the arms out as if you're presenting the legs. But you're more than welcome to keep a little support here by gently touching the toes onto the floor, keeping the hands rested on the floor as well. We won't be in boat long. We're just going to lower down slowly onto our backs. Lowering slowly, engaging through the abs, maybe shaking a little like I am, and lower all the way down. We're almost ready for our Shavasana, but before we get to our final resting pose, we're just gonna have a few more moments of slowing down our movement. Bring your knees in towards the chest and the arms out to a T onto the floor. Send your knees over to the right side. Every time I do this, my back cracks, so hopefully you can feel a little bit of a release in your back too. Sending the knees back up through center and over to the left side. Inhaling the knees back through center. Keeping the knees bent, you'll just send your feet up towards the ceiling, coming into happy baby by reaching your hands around the outer edges of the feet, pressing the knees down almost as if they're coming into the armpits. You could even rock from side to side. Happy baby is another great hip opener. And by moving in this rocking motion, it can really massage the muscles in the back further. From happy baby, we're coming into our final resting pose, Shavasana. You can keep the feet planted on the floor with the knees resting in towards one another for a little bit more of lower back support. Or if you want, you can send the feet out long away from your body. You could also walk the shoulder blades in towards one another like a little kiss behind the back. Which really helps to seal the deal of our practice today with a final way to open through the chest like we have been throughout our practice. I invite you to close your eyes if you haven't already. Bringing the awareness inward, not focusing on the exam you may have done poorly on this week, not focusing on the assignment that may be due tonight. Instead, I just want you to focus on your breath. Our breath is more important than any homework assignment or exam will ever be. Without our breath, we couldn't even be alive. Shifting the awareness away from the breath and trying to think of 3 small things that maybe you're looking forward to in the following week. Maybe things that haven't happened yet. Again, I want you to find things that might seem small to you, like you're looking forward to wearing your favorite fuzzy socks on a day that might be cold this week. Something simple that makes your heart flutter or feel warm and fuzzy a little bit. Find your 3 things. Offer gratitude to those things. Begin to let it marinate and soak in. I'll guide you out of Shavasana when it's time. Begin to bring awareness back into the body. Wiggle through the fingers, wiggle through the toes. As we usually do, you can allow your movements to grow larger, like twisting through the wrists and ankles. Reach the arms up and overhead, like a beautiful stretch in the morning. Exhale, begin to hug the knees into the chest. Maybe wrap your arms around the shins. Walk a little from side to side. And rock and roll yourself gently up to seated. We'll seal in our practice together by ending in Sukhasana. And we're going to take 2 of the deepest inhales and exhales that we have all day. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale slowly. Inhale, the biggest one all day. Exhale. Let it all go. Thank you all, if you've made it this far, for finishing out your second practice together. I look forward to practicing again with you next week. I hope that you can carry out the sense of gratitude that you might have found during our practice today, throughout the rest of your day. And if you can, just a reminder to donate to a great cause for the kids experiencing pediatric cancer. Thank you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.